Two Rottweilers once saved a dying white lion cub no one believed would live through the night. But years later, when the dogs had puppies of their own, that lion did something so unexpected, so unbelievable, that even wildlife experts were stunned. This is the story of a debt repaid in the most extraordinary way. The sun dipped low over the wide African savanna, casting long golden shadows across the dry grass. On a remote wildlife ranch at the edge of the reserve, two powerful Rottweilers, Kara and Brutus, stood watch like loyal guardians. They had lived on the ranch for years, trusted protectors of the land and everything on it. But that evening, something felt different. As the wind shifted, a faint, broken cry drifted through the silence. It was weak, desperate, unlike anything they had heard before. The ranch owner stepped out onto the porch, frowning. "Stay back," he warned, sensing danger. But Kara's ears pricked forward, and Brutus growled softly. The cry came again, this time even weaker, and the dogs refused to ignore it. Kara moved first, slipping through the tall grass with Brutus close behind, their bodies tense with instinct. The ranch owner followed at a distance, unsure whether to call them back or trust their senses. As they pushed deeper into the savanna brush, the faint cry grew clearer, sharp, pained, fading. Then, suddenly, Kara stopped. Brutus froze beside her. Lying in a small hollow beneath a thorny acacia tree was a tiny creature, barely clinging to life. A lion cub, its fur shockingly pale, almost glowing against the earth. A white lion, so rare the owner had only ever heard stories about them. The cub's breaths were shallow, its ribs visible, its eyes half open but unfocused. The owner's voice trembled. Where is its mother? But the land around them was silent. No tracks, no scent, no sign of a pride. The cub had been abandoned. The owner carefully gathered the fragile cub into his arms, feeling its tiny body twitch with every uneven breath. Kara and Brutus followed closely, their eyes fixed on him as if urging him not to delay. Back at the ranch house, the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to urgency. The owner phoned the nearest wildlife vet, who arrived minutes later and shook his head grimly. He's severely dehydrated. Extremely weak. I'm not sure he'll make it through the night. But the Rottweilers refused to accept that fate. As the vet prepared fluids and blankets, Kara curled her warm body around the cub, shielding him from the cold. Brutus positioned himself by the door, growling softly at anyone who came too close. Hours passed in tense silence. Then the cub let out a tiny, fragile breath, steadier than before. He was fighting, and he wasn't fighting alone. Morning light spilled across the ranch, revealing a sight the owner hadn't expected. The white lion cub, who only hours earlier lay motionless, now slept nestled between Kara's paws. Her steady breathing rose and fell in rhythm with his tiny chest. Brutus rested nearby, his watchful eyes softening each time the cub stirred. Over the next few days, something extraordinary unfolded. Whenever the cub whimpered, Kara nudged him gently, calming him instantly. When he tried to stand on wobbly legs, Brutus positioned himself like a steady pillar for the little lion to lean against. The owner watched in amazement as the truth became undeniable. The Rottweilers weren't just protecting the cub, they had adopted him as their own. And the cub, sensing safety at last, accepted them as the family he'd been searching for. Weeks turned into months, and the once frail white lion cub transformed into a striking young lion with bright, curious eyes. Yet despite his growing size and strength, one thing was clear. He truly believed he was a Rottweiler. Every habit, every instinct, every bit of his behavior came from the only family he had ever known. When Kara and Brutus raced through the open fields, he thundered beside them, his massive paws pounding the earth in perfect rhythm. When they sat for treats, he lowered himself too, awkwardly at first, then with surprising precision. He even tried to copy their barking, producing strange chuffs that sent the ranch owner into fits of laughter day and night. The lion curled between the two Rottweilers, his great head resting on Brutus's back as Kara tucked herself close. Visitors stared in disbelief. A lion behaving like a loyal dog? Impossible. But on this ranch, it was simply family. As the seasons changed, life on the ranch settled into a peaceful rhythm. The young white lion, now taller than both Rottweilers, followed Kara and Brutus everywhere like an oversized shadow. But one morning, The owner noticed Kara moving more slowly, her belly rounder than usual. A visit to the vet confirmed it. She was pregnant. The news filled the ranch with excitement, but it also brought a quiet unease. The lion, now nearing adulthood, sensed something different about Kara. His protective nature grew intense. He stayed glued to her side, nudging her gently, growling at anything unfamiliar. The owner watched with growing concern. Lions could become unpredictable around newborns. And as Kara's due date approached, he knew he had to make a difficult decision. When the time finally came to separate Kara for her safety, the decision shattered the young lion. The owner gently guided her into a protected birthing enclosure, closing the gate before the lion could follow. Instantly, his calm demeanor crumbled. He pressed his massive paws against the fence, releasing a low, aching rumble that echoed across the ranch. He paced restlessly, circling the enclosure again and again, searching for a gap, a weakness, any way to reach her. When night fell, he refused food, lying with his head against the gate, eyes fixed on the place where Kara had disappeared. He didn't understand. He only knew he was losing his mother. Hours passed, heavy with tension, until Kara's soft whimpers signaled the beginning of labor. The owner and the vet rushed into the enclosure, working quickly as Brutus hovered anxiously outside. The young lion, hearing every sound, grew frantic. He clawed at the gate, roaring, not in anger, but in fear, desperate to reach the mother who had once saved him. Inside, Kara delivered her first tiny puppy, then another, and another. The air filled with the newborn's trembling squeaks. As Kara cleaned them gently, the lion finally stopped fighting. Something in her soft bark calmed him, a familiar reassurance he had known since he was a fragile cub in her care. The owner hesitated, trembling at the thought of what might happen. But Kara's eyes, trusting, steady, told him everything he needed to know. With a deep breath, he unlatched the gate. The lion stepped inside slowly, lowering his huge head toward the newborns. Instead of aggression, he let out a soft, rumbling purr and curled his massive body around Kara and her puppies. The vet froze. The owner's jaw dropped. No one had expected this. The lion wasn't a threat. He was their guardian. From the moment he lay beside them, the young lion refused to leave the puppy's side. Whenever one whimpered, he nudged it gently back toward Kara, his huge paw moving with astonishing care. At night, he stretched his body in a protective arc around the family, blocking every draft and shadow. When curious animals wandered too close to the enclosure, the lion rose silently, positioning himself like a towering shield. His presence alone sent them scattering. The puppies, still blind and helpless, crawled across his warm fur without fear. To them, he wasn't a predator. He was another guardian, another parent. Kara watched him with calm, trusting eyes. Her adopted son was protecting her children. It didn't take long for the unbelievable scene on the ranch to spread beyond its fences. A visiting researcher captured a short video of the lion curled protectively around the tiny Rottweiler puppies, and within hours it was shared across social media. People around the world were stunned. Wildlife experts debated endlessly. Lions almost never showed gentle behavior toward newborns of any species. Yet here he was, guarding them like a devoted father. Messages flooded the ranch from every continent. Some called it a miracle. Others called it proof that love crosses every boundary. As the weeks passed, the puppies grew stronger, tumbling across the grass with joyful squeaks, while the young lion watched over them like a gentle giant. He taught them confidence with every playful swipe, while they reminded him of the fragile cub he once was. The owner often stood at the fence, overwhelmed by the sight before him. "We thought we saved him," he murmured one quiet evening. "But he's the one who saved this family." In a world divided by fear and instinct, this unlikely family stood as a reminder. Sometimes love chooses the most unexpected hearts, and the Rottweilers stood guard as if they already knew he belonged to them.